short overview of what we are going to do. So you should hopefully see my PowerPoint, and make that big. So talking about tracking studies, we talk about any type of studies where you append data at some point in time. That can be continuous, that can be on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, annual basis, whatever. And sometimes you maybe start a study and you only realize that it's a tracking study when you're going along. So this is covered by what we want to show you today. So we have different ways of do trackings on the platform. It's mainly free. One of them is setting up one project with your first batch of data you have, and then keep on appending data in whatever frequency you like. The big advantage of this one is that the codebook and all the AI learnings are captured in this project. So once you upload new data, that will apply to the new data. So there's actually not much to do when you upload data. So the input you do in the beginning, this is most important. And then when you upload more data, you can occasionally check, but you don't necessarily have to unless there are big changes, because all the learnings are applied and automatically coded. So you can do what is the best, observing the data, analyzing it, and do actions. Very importantly, also the charts and dashboards which are connected to your project, they will automatically update. So you don't have to worry about that unless you want to have certain cuts and do filters. And how you do filtering, that is something we will show you today. The other possibility is, or yeah, just to summarize that, that's actually our recommendation, because what also happens is if you change the code book, you know, from wave to wave, maybe there's certain topics occur which you didn't capture in the first wave, they will reapply it to the entire data set. That means, you know, if there's something new comes up, which is growing over time with your waves, you can actually look into the past data and see what happened in the past and really follow on and evolve into your project. If you would like to avoid that, if you don't have any, if you don't want any evolvement, or for example, if you have waves which are pretty similar but maybe not exactly, maybe the question gets another twist or something like that, or you have very rigid reporting steady where you don't want to have any changes in your past data, then you can just create another project where you upload your data and you set it like it is learning from the past project. So you can also get all the code book and all the AI training into the new project by connecting one wave with another. Again, that is something we will show you how to do that. This way you also grow and evolve, and you also profit and have the advantage from the past project. But there are some limitations here, because, you know, if you put new codes in your new code book, they will obviously not affect the old data. That's something you should be aware of. So we believe this is a good option if you have less frequent waves, or if you really have rigid reporting. If you really say, like, this report goes out to all my customers and I cannot afford that there is suddenly a new code in, you know, first quarter of the last year. And then the third,
we still see your first slide.
You still see my first slide? Okay, that's strange. Is it coming now? Better now? No?
Still the first slide.
Still the first slide. Okay, that is not a problem, I hope.
Yeah, now it's switching. Okay. Now we're
okay, okay, let me just move to the last slide. That's great. Now you see everything here?
Yep.
Perfect. So the last option is the integrations option. We don't spend much time on that one, but just for you to know, we have the integration feature where you can download reviews from review websites such as Amazon, Google Maps, the Google Play Store, App Store. In this case, it's kind of automatically a tracking survey. And here you have the option of using our synchronize function. So if you, for example, load the reviews today for the past years, then you can decide whether you want to stick with your analysis to this point in time, i.e. today, or that you would like to synchronize with new reviews. So you can set a synchronize mode, and then all the future reviews will be downloaded automatically. As these can often be very, very large chunks of data, you have the option to minimize it to a certain amount that you don't go over a certain credit limit, for example. And otherwise, everything applies, which applies from the appending project, because that remains all in one project, and all the learnings and all the trainings and all the codebook evolvements, they will automatically go inside the integrations. So that's it with the theory. So just bear in mind, we have this 2.5 different ways of setting up a tracking study. And now I switch onto the platform to show you how it's done. So I'm sharing my screen again, and that will be now my Caplena platform, which you should see now. Pascal, if you don't mind to confirm, can you
Yes.
see? Excellent. So now we're on the Caplena platform. I did some preparations here to show you the wave analysis, and also how to append new data to an existing project. I already created one project, which is this one here, NPS demo or continuation. And when you go into your project, if you work a lot, sometimes you maybe overlook things, and you just go to the cockpit and start with your analysis. I will do that quickly and show you that's my data. I have 399 cases here. It's already coded, and now I could start analyzing or downloading it. But I would like to append some data because maybe I have a new wave. So I'm going back into my project, and then I have certain options up here in this small band of menu. And the most crucial one for us for today is this one, upload further answers. This is a very simple way. If you have the same data structure, the same question, and you have new answers, you can use this function to upload further answers. In my case, I will give that a bit of a twist, because to analyze on a wave basis or on a date basis even, you obviously need the date variable. In my case, that's not included. I will show you that very quickly by going into a chart and use the filter. So what you see here, there are certain meta variables I can use from my coding. Then there are different questions here, like the ID number. In this case, this is a survey for a mobile carrier. I can choose the mobile carrier, could do a filter, but I don't have a date column as of yet. I have a wave column here, which at the moment only includes wave 1, but I would like to have a date. So I haven't uploaded that in my first batch. So I'm doing exactly that now. I don't save that chart. I'm going back to my project, and I can use this feature here. Add or replace additional columns. This way you can add to an existing project additional data for analytics. So I click on the button, and you get the, which you probably know, the data upload window. And here I prepare the data set for that, obviously, which includes a date. And I upload that. It's a short process. I continue to match. And then you get another match overview that looks pretty much like the one when you initially start a project. I detected here a couple of questions which could be open-ended, which are not. I know that. And then you find something down here. That's the data column. This is my new data, which I uploaded, my new variable. And you see that here. The system detects one new column. So I can, at this point, decide whether I'm happy. I see all the past data is there that will not be touched. And this purple column down here, that will be appended. So one new column, replace and save. It's a very short process, and now I have my date column. If I go back and I go into a chart, into chart creation, I can now filter my data by date. So I should find my date variable here, and now I can start filtering by date. And when I say filtering by date, I have various options. I can actually go by predefined periods, like all the time, which obviously is the default. I can go for this month. There will be nothing because I don't have data from this month. This quarter, I think I have also nothing in my data set. Okay, I probably have something from last quarter. No, from this year, last year. Okay, I have some last year's data. Not even that. That is really strange. Let's try with a custom period. That could be a data issue. So here's a custom period. I can set with this custom period using the calendar a certain period of time. In this case, I'm check from 2020, from the 1st of January to today. I apply my filter, and then of course this is again all the data I had already loaded. However, I would like to append more data to make that more interesting, to have another wave. I told you already I have also a wave filter here, and I only have one data wave. So what I do now, I append another data wave. So I'm going back, I leave that chart just to show you the date column is there. We do something more interesting with it in just 1 second. Now I'm going back to my project, back to that menu here, and rather than add and replace, I now upload further answers. Clicking on that column, again, I'm getting the data import window, and this is the same process. You can use drag and drop, or you can go to your file browser, and here I upload my new data wave. File upload completed. I go continue and match, and again, the system will show me that there is one open-ended question and there will be new answers to be appended. So I see the rows, the data rows for the cases I have. So I have 449 cases which I would like to append. That makes sense. I counted them before. I do append and save. It takes just a second and I'm back in my project, and now my project contains well over 800 answers, my previous answers and my answers which are just appended. So now my project is basically completed with another wave. The coding happens in the background. So now it's up to me to decide whether I would like to explore the new wave a little bit, whether there may be new occurrences, new codes, or I can just continue with my new data set and look at this from a more analytic perspective. And ideally, I can do that using our charting tool. You could obviously download your data and process it internally with whatever you use, or you use our charting tool, create a new chart. Now I have here my entire data set. And again, I can apply filter and date periods just the way I have shown you. And one way of looking at tracking data is, of course, you can use a bar chart and cut certain time periods, but it's much more nicely to look at a progression over time. And for that, we have this chart, which shows you a line graph on the bottom, where you can, again, choose certain periods of time which you would like to show. So you can do a yearly comparison. So now I have data for 2022, 21, and 2022. I can look at this on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis. The pie in the middle shows me the point where I am. Sorry, I clicked a bit wrongly here. It shows me the specific date point to have a closer look, but otherwise I can see the progression of a certain category, how it moves, how it changes, and how the data evolves over time. And of course, you can apply filters. Just to show you that, if I apply a date filter, if I want to look at a specific period by date, I can use the date filter I showed you before. And if I, for example, choose another custom period here, and I cut off, for example, the 2020 data, then I apply it, and of course it disappears, and I have here my filtered data. So that works fine for any sort of filtering. And of course, these filters also apply to our dashboards. So this is actually the best option to work with continuous data. So if you have another data wave, you do exactly what I did. Just make sure you have the same data structure and you can append data in whatever frequency you want. The data will be added to your existing data. It will take the codebook and the learnings from the past project, and then you can process it. And if you want to compare waves or the data, you can cut it using our date function. And of course, if you download the date item is there, and you can slice and dice from this point in time. Okay, now I would like to show you how to work with different projects and how you can analyze them together and how you can inherit the codebook and the AI learnings. For that, I go back into my project list. Again, I prepared something you can see now, and you probably didn't have a look at it before, but now I have here my 848 answers, and all the time I append, my project is basically growing. I prepared here the same data. In this case, it's data wave 1. I already done that. The data is here. It's the same amount of data as my first wave from the other one, 399 cases. I assume now that I would like to add another wave. So this is also a complete project. In this case, it even has some charts, but I would like to set up another project which basically takes over all the setting from this previous project, from this wave 1. So I already uploaded the data for my wave 2. So this is the same project here with new answers. I would go into the cockpit as well. I have done some analysis here, but I've already started to show you how I can connect it to my past project. For that, I restart the analysis. By that, I delete the previous code book from this, test data set, and I really reset the question. And when I do that, I start again with the initial choice, whether it's a fully open question or semi-open. Of course, this is a fully open question. And I go straight inside here. A little trick while we go along, some people overlook that. You can always open this little button and you can have a look at your verbatim. Sometimes if you're still in the brainstorming process, can be sometimes helpful to read a few verbatims. Just a little hint in case you didn't discover that. And now we come to the codebook connection. And if you have a wave project, or if you want to inherit from a project that is very close to the project you're currently doing, then you choose copy from other question. The copying from other question does not only include copying the codebook, it also copies all the reviewing and changing of the data you have done before. So I would like to learn from my wave 1 project, which dropped a little bit. Here's my NPS demo wave 1. I click on it. I select the codebook. I have a single question here. So if you have a project with various questions, then of course there would be the option of choosing from other questions. So I select this codebook. I can review it, can see, okay, that's the one I wanted. Then I always have the chance to auto-generate additional codes. I don't have to do it. I can do it. It can be helpful, just to discover something maybe changed, maybe it's a wave from the past year, maybe a new topic came up, so that's always helpful to leave that. And then I go to the next page, I generate the codes, and this way I bring my learnings into my new project. I skip this one here, doesn't take 6 minutes, just goes much faster. And now I have set up this project in the same way as wave 1, but it's an individual project. But I can always check whether I'm correct, because here on the learning relation, I can always check whether I'm connected to another project. So in this case, I'm here connected to NPS demo wave 1, and I can change it at any time. So I could go in here, go to change, and I can learn, maybe I made a mistake, or maybe I want to learn from a different wave. Maybe I have several projects with the same type of data. Then I can go in there and I can get all these learnings and put them into my project. I will cancel that because I'm basically happy with that. And now I wanted to show you how you can work across projects. So, assuming this is the same data, we have 2 waves, I create a new chart, and now I can compare this data simply by adding another data set. The simplest form is, for example, on a bar chart, looking at wave 1 and 2 next to each other. To do that, you go to the chart settings and to add segment. And by add segment, I can choose a segment from another wave. So I have my wave 2 in here, but I would like to select the wave 1. So I integrate this one, I go to select. I can always check whether I'm correct, because here I can see the number of matches. So I have an idea how large my sample was. I know, okay, my wave 1 is 399 cases, my wave 2 is 449. So now I have them here, but the colors are at the moment the same. There is a little trick to make that look nicer, because the colors are at the moment the colors from the code book, so they obviously have the same question. But if you go to colors, you can choose the segment color. So now we go by segment, and now I can nicely see my wave 2 and my wave 1, and I see them in comparison. I can really see, okay, there are certain changes happen from wave to wave regarding the top items, in this case price and service. If I like the chart and would like to use it later for a dashboard or something, I can store it and save it, and that's pretty much it. What I can also do, I can also use our line graph, the one I showed you before, the one where we can track time, this one here, and we can use it the same way. At the moment, it has only the data from 2021, but we know we also have data from 2020. From 2020. So we can actually extend that. I go one step back to the chart settings again, and here can use another data set to append it. Again, this is wave 2, 449 cases. I go to add data set. I go into my chart list, and I select the wave I want to compare it with, which is the wave 1. I select my question. Again, I can check here. I have wave 1 and 2. Now I also have overall my over 800 cases. And you can see here nicely, now I have data from 2020 up to 2022. And again, you can treat these two projects or these two data waves as one. You can add filters, and you can do a custom period. So for example, you say like, okay, I want to compare my data not on a wave basis, but really on a date basis. So maybe I want to choose a custom time of the middle of 2020, for example. So let's take June. I apply my filter, and then the data adapts and shows me my my data in the way I would like it. And that is, exactly. I have to show you one tiny thing, but you cannot do, and this is the advantage of working in one project continuously. That is using the segmentation from other variables and combine it into the cross-wave analysis. So we have a segmentation tool here. What you can do, what is very nice, you can just use this option here, which you only get if you have linked questions. There you can, this is the quickest way actually of comparing waves. I showed you the way with the appending the data set, but you don't even have to do it. You can just choose this one, and then you compare your linked question. And again, I can change the colors to segment, and then I would see the differences. But of course, we have also other segments here. For example, I have a segmentation by a categorical column. So in our case, it's a mobile carrier. We ask people what kind of smartphone they own, which brand, and I have a segmentation here by the different brands. What you cannot do if you work across two projects is to cut that data now by the two waves. That's in this kind of data layout not possible, because if I go back and I add a segment, which I can do without a problem, it is not so helpful anymore, because this will be now treated as a separate segment. So rather than applying it to or distribute it across the brand columns, I just create another segment. So this is one of the tiny disadvantages, but we always recommend for a continuous study, just append the data and stick in one project and evolve with that one. Okay. One
bigger disadvantage obviously is that in the charts don't really refresh. If you just create different projects, they're sort of disconnected and your charts don't automatically update. You would have to add this data to the chart manually. Instead, if you just append, the dashboards automatically refresh, and all your stakeholders then see the updated data straight away.
Yeah, that's another big one. Exactly, saves you lots of manual labor. Prepared a tiny dashboard here, and then we go straight into the questions. Pascal, I don't know, are there questions already?
Yeah, there's one from me.
Okay, very good. Just one quick one, since there are not many questions. I hope that's a good sign. I created a short dashboard here with one of the line graphs, with a certain date period. This is one of the things you can use, or one of the features from the dashboards. You have a dashboard filter. So if you have lots of charts here, you can always filter the dashboard. And this is also now with our new date feature a nice combination. So I can actually go into the filtering here and choose again a date period. I mean, I think by now you know how it works. I choose a custom period, and I create, for example, here a time span from 2021 to 2022, and apply the filter. Okay, I think I slipped. It was all the time, but I think you get the idea. The filter will occur here, and then you have your dashboard filter. And the dashboard allows you to be shared. It can be shared with your colleagues who have also access to Caplena, but you can also share it with customers, clients, or colleagues who don't have access to Caplena. And you can do that with this feature up here. You have to enable this shared link. If it's not enabled, it doesn't work. But if you enable it, it works. And then you click here, and you can copy the URL to the dashboard, and you can share it even with people who have no account. And those people can see the dashboard, and they can use the dashboard. They cannot go into the project. They can not do any changes to the data, but they can use the dashboard interactively. Interactively means they can click on any code, and they can even read the verbatims. They just cannot amend them. So this is actually a nice feature to do that. And I showed you the filter because you can share a filtered dashboard. So if you, for example, work on a project and you want to point out maybe some occurrence at a certain point in time, then you can set a filter, and you can share the dashboard with filter, and then the person receives it with that filter and can look at that. Of course, that's not limited to the date. You can add any filter you like. You can, for example, in this case, do a smartphone filter and go by a smartphone brand, and you pick Apple, for example. You apply the filter, and then you have a dashboard for Apple. You share it. And with the filters, there's hardly anything to go wrong. You can always check, is there a filter or not? If you want the full data, you just click here, the filter is gone, and you have your full data. And I think that's it from our end. That's what we wanted to bring across. Hopefully that all makes sense and it's helpful for you, for your trackers and continuous data. But please feel free to send us a few questions in the question tab. And then we are happy to answer them. Pascal, I take it there are not that many questions.
Yeah, so far there are just two. Maybe you want to start with answering mine.
Yeah, of course. Shall I read it, or would you like to read it out? Because I can actually go out here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what are the cases where you would recommend having it really in different projects, having your project, your data organized in separate projects?
Yeah, I would do that when I have like a really rigid reporting, for example. For example, I send a report to a client, and they're very persistent, and they don't want to allow any new categories suddenly occurring in past data or old data. I would also recommend it if the question is maybe not exactly the same, and you do it unfrequently, and you maybe really want to make changes in the code book, which you don't want to reapply to the past. Sometimes the question is just similar, not exactly the same. In these cases, I would also set up 2 projects or various projects. Doesn't have to be 2. You can also do like a chain of projects.
Yep. Yeah, maybe to add on that, maybe another case is where you have, I don't know, you have a complete change in additional variables. You collect a much more or a lot less, and you don't want to change additional variables in the historic projects. So you just create a new one, because there you can have different variables if needed. Just keep in mind that the filtering then might not work anymore if the column is not present in both projects.
Yeah, that's always a good thing to try to keep the data structure as close as possible. And the other question, Pascal?
Yeah, what is the best way to download all credits used for all projects into an Excel table? So this was mostly about like credit usage, not necessarily about the open-ends themselves. Maybe I can take that one quickly. If you go to your account, there is
I can show that here, I think.
Yeah, there is a section on credit usage. And there you can download it as CSV here. There's an option bottom right there, where you can see what it will export you is like really a list of like what was the date that someone exported how much, essentially, and also all the recharge actions, for example, when you purchased or when the system gave you credits again.
You see that,
so this is
we'll take that
really
off.
the complete information there.
Yeah.
And there is another question from Adam. Is there a way to compare new and old data without dynamically changing the old data?
Yes, that would be the option of keeping the data in separate projects. So if you create a new project, you can always go back and compare with the old one. Pretty much like I just showed you. I'm going back to the project. This is exactly our case. When I have like my demo project wave 1, which is I think on the other page here. So here's my come on. Here, my demo project wave 1, and here's my demo project wave 2. And if I keep it that way, if this is my old project, it's my new project, this data here in wave 1, that will not be touched and not be altered at all. But I can take all the learnings and gains and put it into my new project, but I will not touch that. So the old data will remain there. So in such a case, just keep it separate, create a new one, take the learnings, but it will not kick back anything into the old data. I hope that answers the question. Any more questions? All right. I think in this case, I would say thank you so very much for joining the
There was one more question. Will you be able to make a comparison chart, even if you split it into different projects?
Yes. Yes, that's actually something I showed. I can show that again. There are different ways of doing a comparison chart. You can do the comparison chart. The easiest way of doing a comparison chart, I show you that on my wave 2. Open the cockpit, and a simple comparison chart would be, I do it as a new chart, that would be using this segmentation option here, compare linked questions. So in this case, I have these 2 questions and they're linked together. I click on it and I already see the comparison here. What you have to do, or what you should do to make it look nice, you can already see the comparison here between the base waves. If I do a mouse over, top line is wave 1, bottom line wave 2, but to make it a bit look nicer, you go to the color and you pick segment. If you pick segment, I have a proper segment comparison, and in this case, I have here my wave 2 and my wave 1, and of course, I could also have another wave, and you can really see here the data, and this is your comparison. So, for example, in my wave 2, I have more people talking about price than before, and more people talking about service. Although I have to say the other sample was a bit bigger. Of course, in this case, it would be better to look on a percentage basis. So I turn the numbers into percentages, but still there are more people talking about price, but actually less people proportionately talk about service. So that would be the easiest and the simplest way to do a wave by wave comparison. Of course, you could also create individual charts and put them on the dashboard and have them next to each other. That would be also charts. But I think this comparison bar chart would be the best way of doing that. Okay.
And that's it with the questions, I think.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much for joining. We are very happy about feedback. We will send you an email with some resources and materials. If you want to send us some feedback or we have more questions, please reach out, just send an email to us and get in touch. And we keep on doing these type of live trainings. We try to keep them short and to the point. And we would be more than happy if you join the next one, which will be at the end of the next month. And that will be most likely about using charts and dashboards and how to visualize the data, share the data, analyze the data. So yeah, thank you for joining and have a great rest of the day. And please don't hesitate to approach us with any types of questions. Bye, everyone.
Thank you too. Bye, everyone.